Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to another Level Up with Aaron video. Today I wanted to do a quick little video kind of tutorial on the changes and how to handle the AI changes to the troops. This is post the May 2017 update where it was a minor update as far as content goes. They raised the level cap for the god's strength and health, and they also changed the way the troop spawner AI works as far as how the troops focus on the gods now instead of being distracted by other targets. So it's kind of like they have a priority for gods more. What I wanted to make this video out specifically about was just dealing with the new troop AI, because that's basically the biggest hot topic from this update, and wanted to share a few tips as I see was a higher level player on how to deal with the changes. Of course, with any update, there's pros and cons. Anytime they change any sort of game mechanics, there's always going to be, feedback from the players. It's both good and bad. So, with that in mind, I always just advise people to keep an open mind, and give the update a chance and see, how they can adapt and evolve as players to cope with the changes in the game, because overall the game, is still the great game that it's always been. You still have all of the great pluses that, this game has that other games don't have, like active real-time assisting. When you do lose, you don't really lose anything in this game besides, losing trophies for the most part. Sure, when you lose an attack, you don't get as many resources, but it's small, it's minimal. So the losses in this game are pretty minimal as far as that concerned. So I tell people don't worry about the trophies. There is a grind at the top. I mean, sure, if you want to get to the top 10 or 20, that's a great goal. But once you're there, it's not necessarily the most, you know, it's not that exciting, basically. It's great, and shoot for that goal. And then, but, you want to enjoy the journey, because the journey is what is going to give you the most fulfillment. Anyways, so let me show you a few battles and then kind of go over some tips about how to handle the new troop AI. So I went through my log here. This was the first one I saw that I thought might be entertaining to watch. It was a 2v10 with fire smoke. I think they came in late too, so but we'll watch it and see how it goes. Okay, so with the new troop AI, obviously they are going to focus on your gods, so it does encourage a slow push style in the sense that you can't just ignore the troops as people used to do. They would just maybe the different strategies that they'd employ. They would basically ignore the troops and kite the troops around the base, either taking out everything from the perimeter or spawning and then destroying stuff and then spawning far away and distracting the troops basically. Now you can't do those other strategies as successful, because when you try to kind of distract the troops, they are not as easily distracted from the gods as they were before. So now they're going to come after the gods pretty aggressively versus being, sidetracked by helpers, drops, etc. So here you can go. Let me talk about this attack real quick. So as you can see, I started off with Ares and did my thing, took out a few key temples, and now I had defense in here as soon as I dropped in. So this is a good example, but I'm used with Artemis, the gods that are most important kind of in controlling the troops are Artemis with her spread shot. Ares Whirlwind does a great job of also controlling troops. He can take out large chunks of them, but he does take damage. And then my favorite is probably Apollo, because his explosive shot literally takes out hordes of mobs, and it does a ton of damage. So it's a great crowd control troop killer here. So you can see the defense is spawning tents around me. I got my Aphrodite out there. So when they're spawning all these troops, obviously if you have Aphrodite on the field, that can be to your advantage because you can charm a bunch of troops over to your army. So I'm just sitting in the middle here. When you go around and attack with these particular gods, if you kind of leave them in one spot for a little bit and not necessarily just run them to a target, they will take care of the troops that are coming at them from all sides. So it kind of allows them by default to kind of protect themselves. If you don't have them targeted on a building per se, if you just kind of let them hang out right there, they're going to naturally kind of clear the masses around them. So I do a little bit of that, but I got to keep moving because it is a giant horde. There are a lot of sisters, and you don't necessarily want to try to stay in one place too long because Artemis is almost dying right there. I did have a nice help, but yeah, she was under a lot of heat right there. I let them get a little bit close. You obviously want to keep your distance with the mob as much as possible. A lot of people are kind of complaining about void walkers being I don't know, vengeance warriors, void walkers, VWs, vengeance warriors being really weak after the update. They did take a nerf as far as their damage and their health and their explosion damage and all that is concerned, but they are still great troops, especially for mob control. So you spawn those VWs in a group of other troops, and now they're gonna chain explode when one of them gets targeted. But most of the time, that's not too bad because if they're in a group or wherever they're at, that explosion, they might be taking out the enemy troops as well. So VWs, they are weaker, but they're still not obsolete. They definitely have their areas where they're strong. I'm not a fan of Zap. I think that the cooldown is way too long. I mean, it is okay for mob control, but the cooldown being twice as long as Vengeance Walkers, plus the fact that it's kind of lackluster in its damage. Like sometimes you have to zap troops several times to kill a mob. Definitely doesn't make it my most favorite. It's actually probably one of my least favorite assisting options. So I still use Vengeance Warriors quite a bit myself to control as an assister, help the attacker control the mobs. So this attack's almost over, but I also wanted to highlight, and I'll show you another replay, how I use my Hera to tank a lot of damage. Most people have Hera because of her wrath, so I strongly encourage everyone to get that revenge ability up and utilize the fact that she can now handle and tank a lot of mobs with that revenge ability. They'll just bounce off of here. Here I'll show you an attack where I lost one with due to the helpers, so you can kind of see in a sample of where I don't know if the defense caused me to lose. Well, obviously I probably would have won if there was no defense, but let's see what the 6 attackers did to stop me or to prevent me from winning. The 6 defenders did. But yeah, like I was saying though, Hera is great for controlling the mob as far as a tank goes because you just can put her in the front of all your other gods, especially your ranged gods. Let the targets, both the towers and the spawners, focus on her, and they'll be killing themselves as they attack her. So she's definitely one of those gods that I don't think is kind of underappreciated. She's actually my favorite tank in the game right now. Like Athena's great. I love her spawn hoplites and everything, but I gotta say that I'm a bigger fan of Hera actually for tanking because I just love how effective she is. And now they actually, with this patch, they also buffed her absorb ability, which means if you get her down pretty low using her revenge ability, then maybe after you get to a temple or some other target and you don't have any pressure on you, you pop her absorb, which will allow her to regenerate a lot of her health. And now she does twice much damage when she has that ability on her melee attacks, so it allows her to regenerate a lot of health faster. Alright, so as you can see, look at right here, I've got a minute into the battle and there's been no defense. So everything's looking pretty good right here. I felt they got 4 out of 8 temples. I got the middle cleared out pretty good. And I'm doing okay. I'm not doing great, but I'm just trying to kill the spawners at this point on the base. I still have Afro Monument up there, which is a key target, obviously, when you're dealing with attacking, because obviously it's going to turn any troops over to the enemy side. So then you have to be careful using your Athena spawn hoplites, because they're just going to get turned against you, as well as assisters have to be careful not to use troops that are going to turn against you as well. Okay, so now you can see I am surrounded by tents from a lot of sides here, and the armies are building up quite fast. Focusing on purple here, and the armies are collecting around me. Usually when I'm attacking, I'm not paying too much attention to who's coming into the battle. I don't know if there's 5 defense or 10 defense. I usually can tell if there's a few, and at this point, okay, here I see all the mobs coming. So it's like, okay, I want to lead with Hera right here, get her out front. That way she can put on her revenge ability, and all these troops are going to like start bouncing off of her. So, and I got another mob coming up to my left here. So you want to try not to get surrounded. That's a key to handling mobs as well, is you don't want to be surrounded. It's easier, obviously, to control a mob if it's all behind you or if it's all coming from one direction, because I could have just stopped them all with Hera, but now I had to split her off. I took her up here to take out this mob, and then I brought her down, to take on the defense in the mob that was down here. So everything's going pretty good. I do have one assister dropping some tents for me, as well as the enemy who's dropping lots of tents and other troops randomly too. I think they're dropping other troops besides tents as well. The defenses, maybe Vengeance Warriors or Skellies. I'm not sure, but my assister is dropping some nice tents to control the mob as well. Tents, obviously with this new update, they're definitely seeing a lot more popularity now because of the nerf to Vengeance Warriors. But yeah, tents were decent before. Now they're a little bit stronger just because Vengeance Warriors aren't as strong as they were. And then, of course, like I said, with the troop AI now, if you can overwhelm the enemy, it's a lot better, to kind of use those troops to overwhelm them. So you saw Hera right there. I took her into the middle. She took out a huge chunk of that mob. They dropped her down to about half health, but she actually gave me a lot of space to make a push here. And then my little army of helpers right there are going pretty good. They just got zapped. See, that zap didn't even kill them. Took them about half health. And there goes my Hera. Oh, look, 6 seconds left. I just ran out of time. That's the thing, too, you'll notice when you're fighting defenders or a lot of defenders, is it's going to slow you down if you don't just charge, because you can't just charge right in. You have to take your time patiently and handle the troops on your way. So you can see the damage there. Of course, Artemis with her spread shot. Ares did a ton in the drop, and then Hera. So you can handle them. There are definitely tools as far as the abilities, like I said earlier in the video. So don't, just kind of learn and adapt. Obviously, some play styles are more adversely affected than others. The play styles that would rely on kiting the troops are definitely, not as strong, and, probably nerfed. But I just encourage everyone to adapt. I mean, you don't want everybody to do the exact same play style. There's even discussion, about future changes to the AI. So this was the first rollout of this change. I do think that this AI is a lot better than it was before. It just makes sense, like it didn't make sense for one tent to be able to pull an entire enemy's defense off into the corner. So that was just kind of lame. It made the bases kind of the base, spawner is pretty obsolete, pointless. So I'm definitely happy overall with the changes to the AI, and I understand it does create some challenges for other players, but I just encourage everyone to adapt. And then if you have any questions, feel free to comment in the video, and I'll give you some tips. I'm on the line chat as well, Overkill in there. I'm in the different groups, so you can hit me up in the line chat or on the forums, and I can try and give you some tips on watch your attacks, etc. I've tried to do that with my own alliance teammates, etc. Alright guys, well that'll conclude this video, and thanks for watching. Keep leveling up.